All right, today we are going to be talking about value scales, and I'm going to show you three different types of value scales here. One with pencil, one with a ballpoint pen, and one with a roller ball pen or something that's similar to a micron pen. And just we want to be able to see the variety of marks that we are able to get with these tools. And even something as basic as just a regular Ticonderoga #2 soft pencil. So with your value scale, when we do this, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get a full range of values from something that is goes from all the way dark to our darkest darks, all the way up to relatively light. So to do that, we're going to start shading. We don't want to do this with holding the pencil down here. We want to kind of come back on the side of it, so that way we use more of the edge of this. Okay, and we're going to start out dark, and then we're going to gradually get lighter. We're putting less pressure on the pencil. We're lifting my hand up so that way it's going away from the edge of it, and when we get down here towards the lighter ones, I'm actually going to hold it out here because it's physically harder to put pressure on it. So we're going to come in here, we're just going to let the pencil kind of drag across the page, so that way we can get all the way out to our lightest lights. And then we can always come back through and make something darker. It is very easy to make something darker. It is very difficult to make something lighter, because as soon as I come in here with my eraser to try to erase something away because I've made a mistake or whatever, and then I go through to try to shade it again, that light, that part that we just erased, it's still going to show up. If you do it really well, you might get it to go away, but a lot of times that mark is still going to be there, so it's going to look different. And we just want to let this kind of slide across the page. Okay, now this is just a regular pencil. If we've got an art pencil, this is an ebony. It's a softer lead, so it can get significantly darker than what we have over here. So it will go to get our blackest blacks. But also, if you're holding on to it and you've got a light touch and we kind of work our way, we can achieve those lighter values that we can with a regular pencil. It's just a little bit trickier because this lead is a lot softer. So when you take a test, they always tell you to use a #2 pencil, because that #2 is the hardness of the pencil, or the softness, depending on which way you go. So with an ebony pencil here, this is like a 6B, B meaning softer, and then they go into the H's where they get hard. So if you use an H pencil, it can not work sometimes. So you can see we can get that to work out to where with this pencil it'll get really close to it, but this gives us, it's a lot smoother value, and as you can see that it's a lot darker there. Now we're going to go to our regular just ballpoint pen like you would get anywhere, and ironically enough, a lot of these you can use just like a pencil. You can push really hard to get that really dark surface there, and then as we come through here we can put less and less pressure on it, and it will soften up. You can also spread your lines out apart, so that way there's some space in there, and that space that's in there helps make it look a little bit lighter. So we can turn the pen a little bit to where you're just kind of dragging it across there, and then we kind of stretch your lines out and it goes lighter. But I'm barely pushing it down, just enough to really get the ball to drag across that. Okay, and then we have a pen like this to where it has a really sharp point to it, similar to a micron. But with this, you can do the same thing where you can lighten your pressure up and kind of come off to the side. It doesn't work necessarily as well because it goes so dark so much, and really it's just about dragging it across the page so that way it skips. So a lot of times with a pen like this, what we do is is hatching or cross hatching, to where we make our lines like this, and then as we come out we can spread them out, and then we go back in and then we can make those lines darker, and we can come down here and spread it out. This isn't necessarily as precise as these other two techniques, but it will work with certain practices. A lot of times this doesn't necessarily work for what we want to do in class, but it does have its place. If you're working on something like a print where you're doing etching, this is what it's going to be, because you're not going to be able to get that real soft transition. But again, if you work at it, and different pens do different things, I can get a really nice dark here, and then just by letting the pen kind of drag and moving it quicker, I can get that softer, a little bit softer. It's not quite as good as these others here, but it will work. So for class, what we need to do right now is we just need to do a pencil value scale like this, to where we can see we've got 1, we've got 2, we've got 3, we've got 4, we've got 5, and then 6. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And if you want to be real particular about it, we can drag this pencil out very, 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 very light, and we can even get us 0. So this is what I want you to do. As far as size of it, you want it to be big enough so that you can still see what's going on. You can see this is a brand new pencil. You can see how big that is. Doesn't need to be an entire page, but it needs to be big enough to where you can be able to see it. Because ultimately, what we're going to do with this is we're going to use this as a reference for all the rest of the drawings that we're going to do throughout the rest of the semester. So we want to be able to hold on to this, so we can take our drawing, we can hold it up next to it and say, oh, I'm missing out on some of these values. And put it a little bit closer to the edge. Maybe we trim the paper down so you can actually take your value scale, you can put it right up to that drawing and see it side by side, to make sure that you get all of those different values in there. So get your value scale drawn out and snap a picture of it, get it turned in.